Thank you. And today we're going to have a webinar on federal funding opportunities for clean energy and other energy related startups from the Department of Energy, SBIR, STTR office, and our speaker, Eileen Chant. And I will introduce her in just a few moments after I tell you a few introductory announcements and things on Zoom housekeeping. So again, thanks for your time today. And my name is Leon Wolf. I am with Virtue Lab, and we are a nonprofit fighting climate change through funding as well as assistance to startups that are developing innovative technologies to address the problem. And one of the services we provide is to help companies get federal funding like SBIR and STTR. Hence, we are bringing informational webinars like today's with Department of Energy and provide additional assistance with that. So again, just a few housekeeping items as soon as I get back to my PowerPoint slide. First of all, please keep, this is an open Zoom meeting format, so please keep yourself on mute. We have muted everybody, but please keep yourself that way. We will allow you to unmute during the open Q&A at the end of the presentation. And again, for bandwidth reasons, please also keep your video camera off, but you're welcome to turn that on when you ask a question. We will take questions in the chat, particularly if they're relevant to a slide that myself, Eileen, or our other entrepreneur presenter will be showing. And please just type that in, and one of us will either get to it and ask the speaker, or if it's me and I'm speaking, I'll try to be sure to look at it. So feel free to type those questions, but try to wait until the end if they're not really urgent. Okay, so today's webinar, as I said, is an overview of the Department of Energy, SBIR, and STTR funding program. And I'm speaking now for about 5 minutes. That's what you're listening to. I'll introduce Eileen Chant from the Department of Energy, who's our main speaker, and I'm sure you're all eager to hear from. We have a short presentation from someone who has successfully received a DOE Phase 1 from a company called Hexis Biomass, and she'll pass along some tips and tricks on that. And then I have a short wrap up on what your next steps will be, as well as what some resources in Oregon, Washington, and the Northwest are, and how you can access those resources. And as much time as we have until the top of the hour, we'll take a live Q&A. So if that sounds good, I will now introduce Dr. Eileen Chant. Eileen is, just a second. Eileen, as I said earlier, is from the Department of Energy, SBIR and STTR program with the Office of Science. She's the Outreach Program Manager and has been with the program since 2020. She has a PhD in mechanical engineering from Georgia Tech and has actually worked for over 25 years as a mechanical engineer in energy-related technology areas, including startups, commercial opportunities, operations, industrial equipment consulting, and nonprofit industry associations. I was lucky enough to meet her at some other meetings we attend, and she has a great overview of DOE, and we're lucky to have her. So I will go ahead and start her slides and turn it over to you, Eileen.
Thank you, Leon, and welcome everybody. I'm happy to be here and to be presenting about the funding opportunities and the other types of assistance programs that we have at the DOE Office of SBIR, STTR programs.
Just a second. Okay.
And I'm happy to entertain your questions. So like Leon said, if you want to interject a question in the chat box during my speaking, I welcome that as well too. Break it up a little and make it a little more interactive.
And Zoom is giving me trouble. Sorry about that, Eileen.
Do you want me to try to
Okay,
pull it
nope.
up? Oh.
You should be there right now.
All right, well, that's my title slide, so no conversation needed there. A little bit about the federal SBIR, STTR programs. There are 11 agencies that have SBIR programs, just so you know. The DOE is one of 11. This program is almost $4 billion annually. It's an early stage non-dilutive R&D fund for small businesses. Non-dilutive means that we don't take a piece of your company. We don't own your intellectual property. The DOE provides grants. They're not loans. You don't have to pay them back. It's a pretty good deal. And it is an early stage R&D fund. So what early stage means, it's an idea that you have it's a little bit flexible about how early stage, but the entry point to the program is an idea for a product that is commercializable. And you want to conduct like a feasibility evaluation on your idea. And it's very early stage. And it's a mechanism to get funding for your idea. And these ideas are just too early stage and high risk for the private sector. So it's a good space for the government to operate. The program goals of the national federal program is to pull small businesses in to help stimulate technological innovation and invent the technologies that we need as a nation. Another policy directive of the program is to foster and encourage participation by socially and economically disadvantaged small business concerns and women-owned business concerns. So we always welcome applications from certain underrepresented groups, and we always welcome the opportunity to elevate awareness of the program with underrepresented entrepreneurs. As you delve into the SBIR program, each agency is different. It's the same, but different. So you should get to know the features of the agency, and I'll go over the features of the DOE program. Next. I just want to track my note. Okay, so just a little bit, one more slide on the federal program, all the different programs. There's 11 agencies, as I said. The Department of Defense has the largest SBIR and STTR program, followed by the Department of Health and Human Services, which a big chunk of that is the National Institute of Health. And the DOE is the third largest SBIR STTR program, in excess of $300 million a year in grants. And the top 5 agencies also have STTR programs, with the smaller 7 agencies not having STTR programs, having only SBIR programs. Next. If you're going to be moving forward with an SBIR, an application with the DOE Programs Office, you should try to understand the differences between SBIR and STTR. The SBIR program's been around for almost 40 years. The awardees are small businesses, and it does allow you to have subcontractors, a nonprofit research institution included. The principal investigator of the SBIR award needs to be an employee of the small business. For STTR program, which is a little bit younger, about 10 years younger, the original purpose of the STTR program was to take technology that's developed inside labs and national labs and universities, and allow the opportunity for small businesses to take that technology out of the research institution and turn it into something that's commercially viable. But that's not the whole angle of the STTR program. You can own, if you want to apply for an STTR program, you can own the technology in your small business and just have the research institution be helping you or supporting you with your award. But an STTR program does require that you have a nonprofit research institution involved as a partner in the research program. And the PI can either be the employee of the small business or the research institution. And there is a sweet spot where you fulfill requirements of both programs, SBIR and STTR. And in that case, you can submit the same exact application. It's just a matter of checking the box as you're submitting your application. You can submit your application to both programs. And they're 2 separate parts of funding. So if you have a meritorious application, in a sense, you really are increasing your odds of an award. Next slide.
Okay.
So, and it just finally differences. No, we need to go back one. Yeah. So finally, the other differences between SBIR and STTR are the R&D expenditure requirements. So for SBIR, I'll just talk about the phase 1. The small business must do a minimum of 7% of the R&D, because you do need help. You might need a materials testing lab, you might need a research institution, you might need consultants, but the small business must do 67% of the R&D. For the STTR phase 1 award, the small business must do a minimum of 40%, and the research institution must do a minimum of 30%. So there's 30% up for grabs, contractors, consultants, testing labs, or the research institution, or the small business. Next slide. Having fun?
No, Zoom sometimes listens to PowerPoint commands and sometimes doesn't.
Okay, well, we're getting through it. So the DOE, every agency is different. NSF is always accepting pitch papers, for example. The DOE has 2 releases, a phase 1 releases a year. Phase 1 is the entry award into our program. There's a July topics release, and then there's a November topics release. The July release has 4 of the program's offices releasing topics. These are generally more kind of fundamental engineering and engineering and physical science related. You can see the offices. There's scientific computing research, making faster computational algorithms, making computing more reliable. Basic energy science, they do a lot of fundamental studying of materials and energy systems and understanding the behavior. The Biological and Environmental Research Office, and the Office of Nuclear Physics, which involves a lot of understanding how particles behave. So there's a lot of instrumentation, computing topics, atmospheric modeling, and components that the labs need for doing their research. Release 2, which is coming out on November 8th, has 9 offices involved, and it's more of a mix of fundamental topics and what more applied topics that people will maybe associate more with the Department of Energy. We have our Office of Electricity, which is technologies required to improve our grid, which everybody knows is changing due to the implementation of renewable energy becoming more decentralized. The Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy has topics in wind, solar, building technologies, hydrogen, and fuel cells, and more. Then there's topics on carbon capture technologies and carbon management through the Office of Fossil Energy. So there's a lot of different topics in this release too, but November 8th, it's coming up. You see the link at the bottom left of the slide. Go to that link on November 8th. The topics document will be there. Open up the topics document and see if there is something that is a good fit for you, your technology expertise, or the R&D that you're working on right now. Next slide. Okay, so the DOE issues very specific topics. I used NSF as a contrasting example before. I'll use them again. They will fund things through pitch papers, or they will invite applications through pitch papers if they think something's a good idea. They don't have topics. We have specific topics that are aligned with the DOE mission, but our topics are actually very broad, and that's something that people are not very aware of about the DOE. In the first column, we have a mission that involves, one of our mission elements is leadership in clean energy technologies. Everybody's probably like, yeah, we know that. And I'm not going to go through all this list, but you can see the wide variety of sample topics that are shown there. But did you know that we also, that part of our mission is to provide leadership in basic energy and engineering sciences? And this is the detectors, the instrumentation, improvement in computing technologies, modeling and simulation of the atmosphere, genomic science, et cetera. And then finally, did you also know that the third element of our mission is enhancement of nuclear security? And then we have topics around enhancement of nuclear security, like I said, and technologies to prevent nuclear proliferation, and also environmental remediation topics with respect to the nation's nuclear weapons waste sites, which are the responsibility of the Department of Energy. So we have specific topics, but a very wide range of topics. Next slide. Okay, a little bit about how our funding works. I did mention we focus on early stage ideas. The phase 1 grant is, like I said, there's some flexibility in how early stage your idea is, but basically it is supposed to be a feasibility assessment. You have an idea of a technology that needs to be developed. R&D is required to develop the technology, and you have some idea that it has some applicability in the commercial marketplace as well too. So that is the phase 1 grant. It is you can pick 6 to 12 months would be your project period of performance. The maximum award amount is either $200,000 or $250,000. It depends on the topic. We issue about 350 to 400 awards per year. So that's your very early stage idea. If your feasibility assessment, proof of concept, phase 1 study is successful, you can submit a phase 2 application that is more focused on developing your prototype, demonstrating your technology, and starting to pivot towards commercialization of your technology. That is a 2-year period of performance with the maximum award $1.1 to $1.6 million. And about 40% of phase 1 awardees go on to receiving phase 2 awards. So it's a pretty good success rate. We have phase 2, we have follow-on phase 2 awards. We have a second phase 2 award, and we have a third phase 2 award. So if you're kind of moving along and you're developing and advancing your technology, but it just needs some more funding and some more research and development to get you through that very early stage called the Valley of Death, the Innovation Valley of Death, you can receive funding up to 7 or 8 years to advance your technology before you would need to move on to phase 3, which is non-SBIR funding, really the commercialization stage. Next. I'll just go over this briefly, but the topics come out November 8th. As I said, there's a topics webinar, which you should be on our mailing list, by the way. If you're not on our mailing list, you want to know what's going on at the DOE, and you want to be invited to webinars which talk to you and help you through the application process, you need to go to our homepage. I'll show that on another slide, so that you get on the mailing list and you're invited to the topics webinar that's coming up in November. After the topics are released, the funding opportunity announcement comes out, and that's the specifics of the program and the application process. Again, if you're on our mailing list, you'll be invited to the FOA webinar. So we need to go back. Yeah. And then you'll start to, if you've decided at this point, you found a topic, it's a good fit, you submit a letter of intent about 6 weeks after the topics are issued. And then the applications are due about 3 months after the topics are issued. So this is kind of the timeline. After you submit your application, within 3 months, you will be notified about whether you have been recommended for an award. And then you would work about a month and a half through a contract negotiation process. And then you'd start your project about 4 months after you have submitted your application. Okay, I'm just focusing on the phase 1. So if you have any questions about phase 2, of course, I'm happy to answer them. This is the funding opportunities page that I've talked about on a previous slide. The topics document will be populated in that blank space there on November 8th. So that's where you need to go. Click on our funding opportunities page. look in this blank box and there will be a topics document. So you go through, you open the topics document, you look at the table of contents, and you also do like a keyword search of the topics document. Whatever it is, that kind of stuff you're doing, batteries, computation, artificial intelligence, machine learning. Type in your technology areas and search through the document as well. People are surprised at what they find, and think about whether your technology can address the problem that's being presented in the topics document. And it has a lot of information on this page. The funding opportunity announcement gets populated on this page. It shows you the timeline as well too. Very important web page. A little bit more about the topics. This shows a picture of a topics document of a specific topic on artificial intelligence. Please pay attention to the maximum phase 1 award amount. And for this topic, it's $200,000. Don't ask for more than $200,000. Otherwise, unfortunately, your application would be declined without review. If you're interested in an STTR application, make sure that that topic is accepting STTR applications. Read the topic very carefully. Read the subtopics very carefully. You respond to a topic and a subtopic. There are references usually in the topic document. Make sure you read the references and become familiar with the state-of-the-art technology. You are expected to be an expert and knowledgeable about the technology in your field. So make sure you know the state-of-the-art, what's out there, why your technology is better, what the competition is offering. Educate yourself to the best of your ability on all of that. And notice that there is a contact for each subtopic. And you can reach out as soon as the topics document opens. You can reach out by email to the topic manager and ask them questions. And your questions should be limited to what they're looking for in the topic. Don't try to sell your technology to the topic manager at that point through an email exchange. That's what your application is for. So your questions should really be around trying to fully understand what they're looking for. Now, while we don't have broad topics, you can see that topic 4B in this example is other. So that's a broader topic. You just need to be responsive. That's a broader subtopic. You need to be responsive to the topic, but as long as you're responsive to the topic, you can submit an application.
Eileen, we have a question in chat that is sort of relevant right here. Can prospective applicants apply concurrently to a DOE and an NSF for the same idea if it's relevant to a topic here?
Yes. You can submit the same application to DOE and NSF. When you're submitting your application to DOE, you have to disclose that you have done that. And if you were to receive both awards, and they were the same exact R&D, you would have to decline one of the awards. That makes sense. You can't get paid twice for the same research and development. And then if there's some type of partial overlap, I'm not 100% sure how that works, but then there's some kind of negotiation that goes on and you don't get the full award. So just be transparent about submitting the same application to multiple agencies, and that's fine. We want you to maximize your chances of receiving an award. We do require a letter of intent as well. That's something that's kind of specific to the DOE program. And it's about 500 words. You have to provide your small business name. You have to provide your topic and your subtopic and the name of the title of your research project. And then you have to write a 500-word abstract on what it is that you're going to do. Do not include any proprietary information. And you will, if your letter of intent is considered non-responsive, you will receive feedback that is the case. So no news is good news. If you don't hear back, that means that it was not considered non-responsive. And if you do get that feedback, the non-responsive feedback, just be aware you can still submit a phase 1 application, but look at the feedback and make sure that you address the feedback in some way. You know, maybe it's not a good fit. And so then maybe you shouldn't submit an application and you should consider that option. Or maybe you can adjust your approach to be more responsive, or maybe you just need to explain yourself a little bit better to be more responsive. But you do have to really sit down and think about next steps. And okay, ready for the next slide. Okay, we do offer a number of application assistance resources, and I really want to highlight these. If you are, the first one is the Phase 0 program. It's a very popular program. If you are a first-time DOE, SBIR, STTR applicant, you are eligible to this program, for this program. So you can go to this link and you can apply to be admitted into the Phase 0 program. It's a short application. It's not like a long form you have to fill out. It's a couple of web forms, but you do have to know what it is that you're going to do. You have to know your topic, you have to know your subtopic, and you need to be able to intelligently discuss what you're going to propose, because someone from our contractor, the name of the company is Dawnbreaker, they administer our Phase 0 program. They are experts in our application process, and they also have technology expertise as well too. So they will try to match someone, a technology person, with your expertise. But it's going to be a bit general in that sense. But you do receive a coach, someone who generally has some experience in your technology area, is an application expert, and you work one-on-one with that coach and they help you through the application process. We offer a number of webinars, as I mentioned. There's an online learning center. There's 36 short tutorials on that center for different parts of the application process, what system registrations you need, how to prepare your letter of intent, advice on putting your budget together, et cetera, preparing your commercialization plan. I want to mention, are you interested in collaborating with the Department of Energy National Labs? There is a resource page for that. It provides information about focus areas and contacts as well too. So if you think that you might want to collaborate with a national lab, you can go to that site and check it out. Email us at any time with questions, and please join our mailing list so you get the news in your inbox about what's going on. We are also on Twitter, and we have a new LinkedIn page as of October. I'm very excited about it. So please follow us on LinkedIn. It's brand new, so I'm really promoting it so that we get a lot of followers.
It's really good.
Oh, thanks. Okay, next slide. I just want to highlight the Phase 0 application assistance program. Do you need help navigating this somewhat complex process? First timers to the DOE SBIR STTR program are eligible. And the apply portal opens on November 8th, the day the topics come out. So we can just go to the next slide. Oh, I'll just mention that they do have an informational webinar on the Phase 0 program as well too. So you will again be on our mailing list to get information about that as well. Next slide. They offer some core services. They help you with your letter of intent. They help you with the unfortunate 5 system registrations that you have to get on in order to submit your application. Some are easy, some are a little bit complex. They help you with your Phase 1 proposal preparation, market research. There is a short 4-page commercialization plan for the Phase 1 application. So you do really need to be thinking, the earlier you start thinking about how you're going to commercialize your technology, the better. So even though it's not a focus of the Phase 1 application, we do want you to start thinking about it. And they help you with the proposal review. And then there's some optional services as well too, including some intellectual property assistance, to some technology advice, and some mentoring services. Next slide. I also want to mention that we have a new person in our office. Her name is Carol Rabke. She's very interested in talking to people about their partnering needs. We are eventually going to have some type of, we think, online service for applicants and awardees. Do you need a testing lab? Do you need to partner with a research institution with a particular expertise? What about consultants? What kind of things do you need to round out your team so that you're successful? At the moment, Carol is very interested in talking to you about your partnering needs. And so feel free to reach out to her. She will get back to you. She'll start a conversation with you. And anyway, so this is all to be developed, but right now she's a resource that you can reach out to. Next. Just to let you know, I've talked about how important it is that you're a good fit with the topic, that what you're proposing addresses the topic. But in addition to that, I just want to mention, as far as the merit criteria for the proposal, the technical reviewers are judging the proposals on you have a feasibility, a study that you want to do, you have an idea. And so it's the strength of your approach to doing your R&D to prove feasibility. So you have to have a nice, solid scientific approach, nice, solid work plan in order to show feasibility at the end of your phase 1 award. You want to have a good team. You want to have the right team to execute the project. I was talking about partnering before. So if you're lacking some type of testing or expertise, you need to try to round out your team. That's what that other, that 33% is in the R&D budget. We allow you to have subcontractors and consultants to help you with your research. And the impact of the potential impact of the technology, if you are successful, is also a review criteria. We know that R&D is not always successful. That's the nature of R&D. But if you are successful, does your technology potentially going to make a splash? The merit criteria are provided by the reviewers. The proposals are ranked in terms of their the merit. And the most highly ranked applications are awarded. So we have more meritorious applications than we have funding. So there are always meritorious applications that do not get funded. If you don't get funded the first time, and don't give up, use your reviewer comments to, finesse your approach, your proposal, and it takes a few tries to be successful for many applicants. Next slide. I just want to talk briefly about common application errors. I'm not going to go into this too much, but the most important thing is to be responsive to the topic and subtopic, and also sit down and read the FOA and understand the application process so that you don't make mistakes that could cause your application to be declined without review. You want to propose a technology that's new, that has an advantage over what's out there, and you want to really understand the application process. And all of these other items are really about the application process. Next slide. Do you want to mention that in phase 1, if you're an awardee, you receive technical and business assistance. The focus of the SBIR program is commercialization. So we really want to help you in that area. We understand that you're experts in research and development, but a lot of entrepreneurs maybe don't have a lot of resources for advancing the commercialization strategy. So if you are an awardee, you can receive up to $6,500 in funding to have technical and business assistance. And there's 2 approaches. You can, if you do nothing in your application, you become eligible to have the TABA services through our provider. Right now, our TABA service provider is a company called LARDA. If you decide of consultants that you want to provide your technical and business assistance, not yourself, you can't do it as your own company, but an external vendor other than the DOE vendor, you have to put an additional $6,500, a budget and a budget justification in your proposal to and the DOE will give you that $6,500. So if the maximum award amount is $200,000 and you're requesting an external vendor, you can ask for $206,500. Okay, so this is above the maximum limit if you want to use your own vendor. And I'll just mention in phase 2, you get $50,000 for that assistance as well. So it's a nice big chunk of money to advance your commercialization. Next slide. And if you are a phase 1 awardee, you are eligible for our Energy I-Corps program, also very focused on commercialization. It's an intensive course. It's free to you. You have to contribute your time. And it's an entrepreneurial training course that's focused on customer discovery. You will interview 30 potential customers as part of this course. So as you can imagine, you come out understanding a lot more about what your potential customers want. Next slide. Okay, so here's kind of the summary of everything. We provide these grants for you all to do your research and commercialize your technology, but we also are providing a lot of support along the way. We are providing a lot of application assistance, the partnering assistance I mentioned, the TABA, Energy I-Corps, there's a PI meeting as well too, where you get to network with other awardees and venture capitalists and angel investors. There's computing resources available to you if you're an awardee and need high performance computing. And then I will also mention, if you're a phase 2 awardee, you there's a program called a diversity supplement, in which during the second year of your phase 2 award, you can have, we will provide the funds to have a student, an undergraduate or a graduate or postgraduate at your company doing research and development for a 10-week period. And the stipulation is that the person who is working at your company enhances the diversity of the U.S. research and development workforce. So this would be presumably someone from an underrepresented group or someone who has shown a demonstrated commitment to enhancing diversity. Next slide. And if DOE is not a good match for you, I just want to emphasize, go to SBIR.gov, and there's 11 agencies offering these programs. You might find a better fit in the DOD, Department of Homeland Security, NSF, etc. So these are links to the SBIR.gov provides links to the funding opportunities for the other agencies. Next slide. Just very quickly, I know we're covering a more relevant success story, which is someone in the state. I'll just talk about a couple of success stories. This company it was founded by 3 Stanford grad students about 5 or 6 years ago. And they've received a number of DOE phase 1 and phase 2 awards. They have a catalyst technology that takes a waste stream of carbon dioxide and using renewable electricity as the source of power and water, it will turn that, it turns it into the stream into valuable hydrocarbon chemical, high value hydrocarbons, which are the chemicals that we use in our everyday life for everything from electronics to building materials, etc. And they are now in excess of 40 employees, and they've raised about $57 million in venture capital and private sector investment, and doing really well. Next slide. And then this is a story about a software company that had created like this network, the software platform that enables community solar. And so, it talks to the equipment, it talks to the utilities about where the power is needed, and the homeowners and energy retailers, and it does the work of routing the electricity. And they also have, because we don't all have the opportunity to put solar on our roof. So this is solar that is maybe far away, but can come to you. You can be using solar energy, even though it's not on the roof of your house. And this is another company that has started to generate product sales after receiving DOE phase 1 and phase 2 awards. Okay, that's my presentation. Thank you very much for your time. I'm happy to answer questions. Just a reminder about the application assistance program. Email us with any questions. We take pride in the fact that we answer emails that come in, all the emails that come in. We try to do it within 24 hours, unless it's a little bit of a complicated question. And don't forget to follow us on social media and to be on our mailing list. So thank you very much. I'm happy to answer questions again.
Thank you, Eileen. We do have about 3 questions in chat, which I will save for the end. But I do want to mention to all of the participants that I will be converting these slides to PDF as well as my own, and sending that out to the entire distribution of the attended Eventbrite attendees. And also this recording will be available, but it will probably also be available on an as needed, as requested basis to a smaller possible. It will not be posted publicly, but a smaller subset of those attending or requesting it. So with that, I'm going to unshare and turn it over to Wendy Owens. As mentioned, Wendy runs Hexis Biomass and is a SBIR success story and also working on a USDA proposal. And in just a second, yeah, here we go. I will. Wendy, are you unmuted and can you speak?
I am unmuted, yes.
Awesome. Technology is actually working. So here is your slide. Go ahead, take it away, Wendy.
Thank you very much, Leon. I am Wendy Owens, the CEO and founder of Hexis Biomass. Hexis is a biomaterials company. We produce a non-wood fiber from our perennial giant grasses that can substitute for wood and bamboo and corn and fossil fuel-based feedstocks and many applications from bioenergy, like we're working on in our DOE grant, to for things like fiberboard and OSB that we're working on right now, writing a USDA SBIR grant for. So with multiple applications, we're very excited about our future, but we were looking for some support to get there and get through this process. As you say, the dog days of developing these technologies and getting them out to be commercialized. So we applied last year for a I guess it was this year for the application, but the SBIR grant from the DOE, phase 1 specifically, and we were fortunate to win. And we were focusing on, as the title says here, high yield bioenergy crop production for fertilizer runoff capture, soil stabilization, and soil regeneration in Northern California. We are a Washington-based company, but we had already relationships with University of California State University Chico, as well as Woodland Community College and the city of Colusa down in California. So with those relationships, which is a great thing to leverage, is you're also looking at your capabilities, your technology, and then also your relationships when you're perusing the DOEs and USDA's, et cetera's, SBIR, FOAs, and requests for proposals. So keep those things in mind. So I've been asked just to offer a couple of, I guess, reiterate actually a lot of what Eileen said in terms of how you become successful as an applicant. We are a 100% women-owned company. This was our first SBIR application. We were fortunate to succeed at it. But I think the reason is because we really followed all the rules. And so that meant that we read everything that was available in terms of the FOA that DOE put out. We also talked to the managers for our specific topic to make sure that we were going to line up correctly with what they looked for. And for us, it was not only using our fiber in a specific product, but actually working with the community to do so. So we are working with Chico State University's MBA classes on running feasibility analyses and developing the basis for software that we would develop in our phase 2. We're working with the community college to develop a survey for farmers and landowners on their attitudes towards the knowledge of bioenergy crops. And then we're making some educational materials. And then we also growing. Sort of the last on the list is growing our actual crop itself for use in bioenergy applications. So I'd say read everything you can in the FOA, ask questions, follow directions, talk to your program managers, leverage, like I said, existing relationships, really think through that. Give yourself plenty of time. You really, especially if you're a first-time applicant, you have lots of things to sign up for with SAM and grants.gov and with the Small Business Administration. And that may include some paper submissions of things that are necessary to get fully registered. And so we were also able then, after our award, we just went through, or we're finishing up tomorrow, the DOE's I-Corps program, which I must say was excellent for us. This is my fourth startup. I've done a lot of business development, but this program really focused us in that way, helped us understand really what we're doing on our current grant that can help with our phase 2 application, which is super important. So we have regular check-ins with our program managers. I would say that one thing that worked to our advantage was to be prepared to execute on the grant. So we had lined things up already, even before we knew we had the grant, lined things up with our collaborators that were included in the grant. We knew what we were going to do going forward. So it really pays, I would say, overall in this whole process to be very organized. And that would be the one thing I would encourage everyone to do. Use the checklist, use Dawnbreaker's phase 0 support, use VirtuLab and their support they can provide. And thanks so much for the opportunity to talk to you about our success thus far.
That was excellent, Wendy. Thank you. I couldn't have said it better about being organized and reading everything. I really appreciate it, and congratulations on your award.
Thank you. It is worth the investment. It's a really positive experience that we've had thus far.
You are muted, Liam, I believe.
You're still muted.
You're muted.
No luck today, huh?
I could look at the chat. And while Leon's getting his sound fixed, let me see. Oh, and the one thing that I did want to mention, because I talked about the wide variety of DOE topics, that we have occasionally training topics as well, training, workforce development, and community development projects. So, maybe a little bit different from the R&D, straight R&D areas, but just so you know, that's another kind of broad area that we issue topics in.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, it was my fault. Operator error on the headset. All right, so thanks. Thank you, Wendy. Working with rockstar entrepreneurs like Wendy is one of the most rewarding aspects of the assistance that I personally, as well as the rest of us at VirtuLab, provide. Wendy, by the way, has been a participant in VirtuLab assistance programs, I think starting a couple of years ago with what we call the Cascadia Cleantech Accelerator, which is not limited to Oregon, but across the Northwest and even Canada, an entrepreneurial education and assistance program for anyone in clean tech and sustainability, including some of the energy projects which are fundable by Department of Energy. So as I mentioned, just a quick plug for VirtuLab. VirtuLab is a nonprofit. We have both a climate impact fund, as well as providing assistance services like the accelerator I just mentioned. And then if the great support that DOE and Dawnbreaker provide and the Energy I-Corps programs are not enough, we also provide personal assistance for the whole range of complicated tasks that are required to navigate the SBIR jungle, including finding the right agency if DOE is not for you, as well as finding the right topic. And we will, by the way, be featuring the release of many of these clean energy topics that Eileen previewed in the November topic release in our November newsletter. So please stay tuned and sign up for our newsletter. On a much more broad sense, in kind of a complement to what the Dawnbreaker, Phase Zero, and other assistance services provide. We do one-on-one consulting, some specific training and workshops, some grant writing, technical review and critique, similar to Dawnbreaker, help with the broader range of entrepreneurial planning, as well as the dreaded registrations and online submission system account creation, which can, as Eileen mentioned, and I want to double down on, mix up the most sophisticated entrepreneur and researcher. So start early with those, and particularly the SAM system is the one to make sure you get through. So this assistance is offered for SBIR proposals, actually in all industries. For Northwest companies in energy, it's offered at no cost. For Oregon companies, you can be in any industry. And for other technologies in Washington, Idaho, or the rest of the Northwest, please contact me. And this is provided through both some funding we get from the U.S. Small Business Administration, as well as the Department of Energy that provides some additional stuff I'll get to in a second. And then the state of Oregon is also funding some of this work. So please go to the main Virtue Lab URL shown here and the specific SBIR page. We have some videos that go over more of the basics and will help kind of make the bigger picture make sense for you and tell you a little bit more about the other agencies. And then if you do want to take that next step and you think this is the right funding for you, please fill out our online application form, and myself or someone else from Virtue Lab will get in touch with you and explain more about the services shown on this slide. And of course, I highly encourage, if you're a first-time employee or an underserved person to or company, to go to the Phase Zero site that Eileen showed as well. And then just brand new, I wanted to announce that for the next 3 years, the department, a different part of Department of Energy, has funded Virtue Lab, as well as some of our key partners, Clean Tech Alliance and the University of Washington, a physical facility up there in Seattle, to provide explicit, very specific help to clean energy startups, more in the hardware space, apply and compete for both SBIR and a range of other federal funding programs. That's available again to small businesses in all 4 of the states. Very similar services to the SBIR only training we offer in Oregon. But the difference here is that both for Oregon companies and for these other Northwest companies, you can partner with someone or apply to a non-SBIR source, like a more general, what's called a FOA. You can apply to some ARPA-E things. You can apply to some of the DOE prize competitions, particularly Solar Energy Office has a large amount of options available right now. And under the current administration, I believe that's going to increase. And then there's a number of other services there's not enough time here to talk about, but the federal funding assistance is only one of 4 assistance programs. Cascadia Accelerator is one of the others that are offered under this project. So please contact me if you'd like more information. And just the acronym we're using at present is that this is the EPIC project, or the Northwest Clean Tech Innovation Network. So I'd love to talk to any companies from the Northwest about this service really soon. So finally, to contact me, again, fill out the application form, or feel free to email me at just leon.wolf@virtuelab.org. And I believe that's it. So your next steps, you can certainly ask questions until the top of the hour. Feel free to email me or email the DOE website information, and we will take open questions. I'll unmute everybody and I'll start with the people in the chat. So Wendy, if you're available, please also unmute yourself. Let's see. Someone says, thank you, I need to head off to another meeting. Okay, let's see. Is anyone, yeah, shoot. Trisha, do you know how to unmute everyone, or can they unmute themselves?
You could start with the chat questions if you want.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. If one seeks engagement with a national lab as part of an application, are there issues related to IP ownership of concern? I think I know a little bit about that. I know there's some allocation of rights, but Eileen, do you have more information about that?
So one of the things about the SBIR program is that you do own your intellectual property for a period of 20 years. And if you're partnering with a nonprofit research institution, such as a national lab, it is expected that you should have some type of an agreement. And under our applicant resources page, we have some model agreements, and some of that does relate to the intellectual property. But you are the owner of your IP. That's a fundamental part of the SBIR program.
All right, next question. If a company needs to develop 2 different types of technology on the same project, is it possible to receive 2 grants and use the funding from each in their entirety? Do you want me to take that one, Eileen?
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, okay, you can tell me how I do on this, okay. So the short answer is yes. If these are 2 completely different technologies and you successfully submit a letter of intent that's responsive to 2 separate DOE topics and apply and are lucky enough to receive both grants, as long as there's no overlap, you can spend things on both grants completely independently, whether they're intended to commercialize 2 completely different projects or just roll up into a single product that you're eventually hoping to get to market with. The important thing is to avoid double counting and keep like almost a spending firewall between the 2 projects. And, you know, DOE allows you, I believe, to submit up to 10 letters of intent. So I've seen people submit, or at least try to submit, up to 4 applications